I want to stick with the Glasgow summit just for a minute. Alex, what's your takeout of the outcome from Glasgow, and what do you think of? Are you happy with the watered down wording to phase down, not phase out coal?
Yeah, well, thanks, SHARRI. I am actually a bit pleased with that, I have to say. I mean, I think it's interesting to see the world bucking the trend on the terms. I think the terms were rather than phase out to phase down coal production. And
yes,
look, I think what this does is it bells the cat in terms of what climate conferences like COP26 are all about. Really, these are nothing but globalist talkfests by bureaucrats from European countries, crony capitalists and the like. And, I saw at the end of there, I think the chairman was in tears almost, or on the verge of, because the whole thing didn't play out the way that it was intended. And it's really no surprise. I mean, ultimately, we've got countries who are, frankly, yanking the chain on this stuff. China didn't show up. India didn't show up. And when India did send a message, it was, please pay us whatever it was, $1 trillion a year. I mean, I think it really highlights the folly of, climate conferences like COP26. Bad news ultimately for the climate alarmists and the keyboard slacktivists out there, that all this is ever going to do is deindustrialise the West. So Australia's doing more than its fair share, and I think we've got to be clear about that.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you think? Australia doing more than its fair share? Are you happy with the Morrison government's plan to get to net zero, according to its modelling that it released on Friday afternoon?
SHARRI, we had a recent climate report say that Australia was ranked last of 60 countries for our climate change policy. And I don't think many of the attendees there would have thought we were doing our fair share. In fact, we're the only advanced country not to have raised our 2030 ambition. And we've signed up now to an agreement that says that countries that didn't raise their 2030 ambition should do so in 2022. If the Morrison government is going to go for higher emissions targets in 2030, it should just tell us straight away what they are, rather than continuing this facade that they're going to maintain Tony Abbott's climate targets, the climate targets of a man who called climate change absolute crap. Tackling climate change is in Australia's interest. We're more affected by it than any other advanced country, through extreme weather events like floods and bushfires, through to the impact on the Great Barrier Reef, our greatest tourist destination. And if we seize the opportunity, we get a whole host of renewables jobs.
Okay.
But you saw with the modelling on Friday, it's modelling which is completely at odds with what the Prime Minister said in the past. It reckons that by 2050, 90% of vehicles will be electric. So much for Scott Morrison's claim that the electric vehicles will end the weekend. What, are we going to not have weekends by 2050?
Huge contradiction in what he said at the last election, and there's no question about that. And the reality is, with electric vehicles, they are currently too expensive for the majority of Australians to buy, even if they wanted to, even if there were the charging stations across the country.